Okay, next question is related, but would you propose or support another tax bid now? And you can answer this for any kind of tax that you think, you know, would be appropriate. And we're going to start with Jack.
I would not support a tax proposal at the current time. And the reason is I don't see that we have moved past where we were with the last one. I think, and I talk about it at every council meeting, options need to be on the table. We need to have a better review of the streets and the prioritizing of what needs to be replaced. We also need to go over the city's annual financial report, which I've been doing with a fine-tooth comb, to see can some money be moved around in certain areas to help towards this, so that if we do have to go forward with a tax, can it be reduced? One of my ideas was to take the 0.5 and put 0.3 towards the roads and 0.1 towards our recreation center and 0.1 towards restoring the senior services. It never went anywhere when I brought it up. And again, I'm not saying it's the right answer, but at least it was an option that could have been discussed with council and brought forth to people. That's been my whole platform, is we need options. And so right now, the tax talk for me is not an option until we straighten some of those things out.
Mike?
I would support a half percent increase if there was a very detailed plan of where every cent was going to go over a 5-year period. I think that's all we could get past at this time, and it would take a real group effort by council in order to get that done.
Okay, Jeff?
I agree with what Mike said. I would like to see more than just the 5 years, obviously, because I think there's tens of millions of dollars worth of work, and I think a longer term will give us more of a financial stability to deal with those challenges as well. I also agree with some of the things that Jack said. We need to start that communication and look at what those options are now, so we can find out what the voters will support. We don't have an option to put another tax increase on the ballot for several months. So we have several months to roll our sleeves up and get to work on this. And since the mayor's veto, I haven't seen one sleeve being rolled up there. So hopefully we have some new people here that will come in there and roll their sleeves up.
Okay, Julie?
At this time, I wouldn't get behind an effort to put a proposal on the ballot. I think we need to have a solid plan in place first. I think we need to have a discussion with the residents and the community, what they want. But a lack of a solid plan is my main reason for not supporting it at this time.
Okay, now would anyone like a 60-second follow-up?
I'd like
Go ahead.
to say a couple. I appreciate what my fellow people are saying here about getting more out there. It's almost like there has to be a committee, and Jeff has brought that up. I don't want to steal his thunder. If an issue of this importance, people need to have some input into it. And honestly, we have a lot of brilliant people in Brook Park. As I walk around the city, people pop ideas into my head that just blow me away. We need to take some of those back and be able to go back to council and say, hey, this is something that I've heard. Can we at least look at this? You know, whether it's a bond or a loan or anything else. Other places have done it. We need to look at best practices from other cities to see what we can accommodate and adopt for our own.
Okay. Mike, do you want to?
I'm good at this point.
Jeff?
Just to build upon what everybody said, I do agree that we need to do something, and to build upon the planning aspect and the voter confidence aspect and the solid plan, as Julie stated. One of the things I would propose if I get into council would be to form a Public Works Advisory Committee, which we don't have a committee like that, and other towns within Cuyahoga County do have that. I think that would help build the trust within the city, would help solidify a good plan for moving forward, and a plan that the voters can buy into, council can buy into, using the engineer, the service department. Everybody would have a stake in that. I think we do, like Jack said, look at best practice of what other communities are doing, find out what's working, because what's working in Brook Park is not right now working to the most effectiveness as it could be.
Okay, new question, and remind me on the turns. I think we're starting with Mike. And the new question is the recent plan to send dispatch services to Parma. How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with regionalization to a point, but I'm a little concerned that it's so far away. There was a part in the paper that said, the recent article, that said that the dispatchers don't give directions. And So that kind of threw me because that's not true. The fact of the matter is the dispatcher has to dispatch the police in a certain part of the town. If they can't dispatch somebody that's on the east side of town to go to a call that's on the west side of town when somebody on the west side of town's already there. So they thoroughly have to know the city. So when they're moving the people over there to start with, our people are going to be there, is my understanding, that they're going to hire them. But then eventually they want to train them all, and I think there has to be some new type of technology that I'd want to see in hand beforehand, that would say when the call comes in, it says it's at this part of Brook Park or it's at that part of Brook Park, and where the people are that are needed to respond to it, whether it's police or fire, how they can get there promptly. Right now, if it's just they're going off a memory and maps on the wall, I could see that being a real issue.
Okay, Jeff?
Okay. I work for a regional agency, so I am for regional and shared services if they can be proven to be cost-effective, efficient, and provide as good or better services to the people that they serve. Honestly, I don't know all the details regarding the proposal. I know some of my fellow candidates know a little bit more about that for me, but one of my 4 keys that I think are needed are effective and efficient government services, and we have to look at them sometimes in a different way. So I'm glad that the city's looking at it in a different way, but I don't know enough to say I'm for or against at this time. I am for investigating regional services, but they have to be proven to be effective, efficient, and provide as good or better services.
Okay, Julie?
I don't know enough of the specifics on it either to say whether I would be for it in terms of the financials. I agree with the general idea of regionalization. I think that's the direction we're heading in for a lot of services, especially with the budget issues that we're facing in the city. We got to find ways to make cuts. So if it would save the city money, and then as I understand, those dispatchers will still be hired by Parma, so they're not losing any jobs, then I would support it if there was a cost savings.
Okay, Jack?
Actually, I'd like to thank you for this because I read your article and I made a presentation to council the other day, so I'm very familiar with this, and I am totally right now against it. The city of Parma would receive at least, and remember those words, at least $365,000 in fees from the city of Brook Park. The words "at least" in contractual language scare me to death because it means the costs can never go down, they can only go up. There's also an initial startup fee of $52,470 that's involved in that we would also have to pay to the city of Parma. Then there's this 22% yearly fee that they're talking about for every year of the 3-year agreement. And I understand Mayor Coyne did do a good job of explaining that was supposed to be split among the 3 cities. But right after that, in the contractual language, it does say that those fees are going to be applied for hires from Brook Park. So are we going to get 18% of that 22%, or 5%, or 7%, or is it split equally no matter what? That bothers me. It also bothered me that we have already heard from council that they've already had our people doing the exams for the jobs there. I mean, do we not get a choice on this? Have they already decided for us and you're just telling us what it's going to be done and you're just going to have to live with it? I am against that. Also, I did a presentation to the seniors on the same type of thing with EMS, and a city in Southern Ohio in December came in on a Monday morning and said, good morning, we filed bankruptcy, and cities in 6 different states without EMS services that day. It scares me to death. We need more options and more time to look this over.
Okay, Mike?
Just to follow up on that real quick, you know, to get back to the regionalization, I think it's the way that's going to be needed in the future. But again, I see it at a smaller scale. When I was Director of Public Safety for Brook Park, I led a team to get a multi-million-dollar grant for radios, and we had North Royalton and Strongsville and Middleburg Heights and Berea, Olmsted Township were all involved, and it was very successful, and it worked very well. The tower was way out in Strongsville up on a hill, so it can be done, but again, like I said, it needs to be done in a way that a dispatcher can look up and see where the call is and where the different entities are that need to respond to it so that they can send the proper person. You know, when it said leaders said that they don't give directions, but yeah, but they tell which one's got to go. They really need to see that. So I'm really concerned about this plan. I'd like to dive much deeper into it.
Okay, Jeff, any follow-up?
I think it goes back to maybe some of the things that we were all saying at the beginning, goes communication. Do we have all the information presented to us? Do we have all the facts to make an informed decision or an informed opinion? Jack has done more research on this than some of us. Mike's experience has brought up, I think, a lot of very good points, but as Mike and I both said, we are familiar with regional entities. We've got 4 in Brook Park alone with the Cuyahoga County Public Library, Metro Parks, Berea City School District, and if I'm not mistaken, our police force is part of the Southwest Emergency Operation Task Force. So regionalism works if it's done right, and we want to make sure it's done right.
Julie, any follow-up?
I think Jack brought up a good point about this particular plan, the financial end of it. I have concerns about that. That's why I wouldn't be able to say I would be behind it 100% right now, because at 22%, that's a concern. And I would want to see how the plan with Parma compares to perhaps the offers. I know they had talked with Strongsville and some other cities. I want to see, how the different they compare.
Yeah, I would like to add something else. One of the things that Jeff brought up was the cost. And if you factor out the cost over the 3-year period they're talking about, and then we could opt out after 6 months in the 4th year, it comes to about $1.2 million. It's $400,000 a year. And according to the mayor, our cost right now is about $500,000 on the personnel side. $700,000, I believe, is what he quoted the other night for the equipment side. So again, an option. Could we do it for 1 year? Like Julie says, could we do it with somebody else? Could we get a grant for the equipment and still do it ourselves and save the money? There's a lot of options on the table. So again, I think all of us have been pretty much in agreement. We need a lot more information to really represent the people and make an informed decision, because once it goes away, the chances of it coming back are very slim.